Alright, so hey guys, my name is Sirka. I work as a front-end developer here at STRV, and I'm really happy to have you all here on our developer meetup. The topic is going to be about what have you learned at STRV, and of course about React.js too, since it's in the title. I'm going to start with a brief description about how do we do stuff at STRV with the clients. So the first thing I want to mention is that we have no project managers at all, just account managers. And what's the difference? The difference is that the project manager take care of about managing the developers and delivering the project on time and on quality. On the other hand, account manager just have the business part to take care, and account manager as well take care of multiple clients simultaneously. And it's just about business, but not about the technical part, which means that the technical part is managed by our developers themselves. So the developers speak to the client directly. And that might sound a little bit freaky to you, but this approach provides many benefits. And one of the benefits is that the client appreciates direct contact with the developer without middleman of a project manager. And this is a good thing because it's a faster over communication, it's less fuss, and we actually speak a lot with the clients. I mean, we speak with them every single day, but I will explain this later on. Customers are different, so there is no detailed specifications every single time. Therefore, we need to be very flexible in terms of description of the project and not to be scared of a project which is defined just roughly and vaguely, because clients will describe it later on in the project. And speaking of the difference, our clients can be split into two main categories. As you can already tell, the clients can be split into two categories, as I mentioned. As you can already tell, it's different with the technology and the use case. So every single project is a bit different, so it requires a different technology and approach to use. The first project is a mobile app landing page. It's just a simple website which is about the mobile app which is being developed for mobile devices. It's just a simple web page with the title, the features of the application, the nice screenshots of the button to download the application. And there's a second type of project which is a web application, which of course has different demands. For example, of a web application, I chose Messages, which is our latest project. It's just essentially a widget with a live chat and a couple of additional features. And as I said, different use case calls for different measures and different technologies because it suits better for different tasks. So it determines the technology to use, if it's a web app or mobile landing page or whatever. Just briefly about the landing page. Scripting with jQuery is okay-ish. And I know you're going to eat me alive for this, but I think that for this kind of use case, just for a simple landing page, you don't need very advanced dev stacks as React or Webpack and something heavy and advanced. So even though jQuery has been here for like 10 years and it's been moved out from jQuery and using other stuff or other frameworks and better approaches, I think it's completely cool and okay to use jQuery or simple or similar framework for a use case as a simple landing page. And it actually has some benefits. As I said, jQuery is here for like 10 or maybe even more years. So many people are used to work with it, and especially we in STRV, we can build a landing page or just a page with it very quickly and efficiently. So building a page like this with jQuery is quick and easy, and since it's quick, it's cheap, which is good because clients pay for it, so if he saves some money, it's good for him. But, of course, as you guys probably all know, it has some disadvantages too. As I said, it's quick, easy, and cheap, yet it's hardly to maintain and maintainable and scalable when the project grows. But this is not the problem of our landing page, because we know it's going to be small, just a couple of subpages, with no big functionalities. It's not going to grow, and not many people in the team will work on it. So even though we know about disadvantages of jQuery on bigger projects, this is not the case. So using of jQuery or similar framework is totally okay in this particular case. On the other hand, web applications do have different demands, and practically all of our projects do require having an API at some point. So it's definitely worth thinking about it before the project even starts. And this already raises up some questions for a client. For example, one of the questions is, what kind of data do we need? Or are those data going to be read-only, or are they going to be editable? If we'll just fetch those data from API and show it in a web page, or if we need to edit and save them by the application, so we have to think of stuff like token authentication, or if it's going to be editable by administration or by the customer himself. So we do need some administration done. So it's another question for a client if he wants it, and if so, how are we going to do it? Or a question like fetching data from other sources, from other APIs, or scraping it from and parsing it from the web pages or stuff like that. And this is just an example of the questions for the API before we even start the project and application to build. Of course, API is not just one thing of the web application. Then is a dev stack. We in STRV do use React and Webpack because it's our, let's call it industry standard for us. It suits for us very well. And reasons why do we use React particularly? Well, because it's maintainable and easy to use and easy to read the code for the guys who work on it. We have actually a configured template for quicker start, which takes care of global store container like Redux or Flux, form handling and routing and this kind of stuff. So since we do have prepared blank dev stack which solves these problems, it's quicker for us to start the project with no fuss of configuring the Webpack and React packages and so. The main sorry guys. The main feature of why we do use React is why Facebook actually built it, and its scalability. Our clients are vastly startup clients, and when the business goes down, it's a shame. But when it's successful and the business goes up, we have to build the application further, and that means that the project is going to grow. So the scalability of React proven as being good, so that's why we use it. And Webpack, of course, offers some really useful features, which my colleagues will talk about later on after my talk. And of course, web applications do utilize databases or third-party services, such as payment gateways or SMS gateways. And I personally find it much easier to maintain and to use these services and databases through Express.js and React in comparison to classical dev stack with jQuery, PHP, or whatever you know and you're used to. But this is just my personal opinion. Of course, you can do whatever suits you the best. Question for clients, volume 1. Before the project even starts, we do have to ask client, or he actually tells you himself, if he already has an existing code base, and you have to make a very important decision about if you're going to maintain it or rewrite it from scratch. And this is a very important decision because it will affect your entire development setup later on, and it can be hardly or even impossible to change later on. So this is a very important decision for the start. For example, as I showed you the example of the Messages project, our customer already had something done in Angular from the previous company and previous developers. But we decided to rewrite it from scratch, even though it took some more time and therefore customers' money, because we thought that we can put all we know and we're capable of to the new project from scratch, and it's going to be better for next development in terms of readability and scalability, and so on. Probably the most important thing and a question for a client is about what your app should do, what it should look like, the core functionalities, what it should look like, and what the expectations, what the application should do, what it shouldn't do, and just the idea of the customer about the app or the project or the web application or whatever in general. And of course, clients do have some idea about what it's gonna do and what it's gonna look like, because obviously without an idea you cannot build a project at all. But in many cases, clients don't know precisely what they want to begin with. So asking them for these questions, as you can see, the core functionalities, looks, expectations, often leads to an answer like this. I have what he's having, but different. And this gives you a very brief idea about what the project is going to be about, so you can already think of approaching this job. And as bad as it sounds, just pointing to the competition and we want it like those guys, but a little bit different or even the same. It might sound bad, but it actually kind of works for me personally, because in a couple of sentences or a couple of words or in a link or with the image, I'll get a very good idea about what our customer is going to do and going to want. So, as I said, it's totally okay for me to point to somebody else how it should do, how it should look and behave, and we can start from this idea and improve it and based on the client's needs. Sorry. And this leads to a quick kickoff and quick start of project. And of course, the stuff I mentioned earlier is not just the only thing you can start the development with right away. But for our clients, it's very important to get the development of the project up and running with a very brief and rough idea. And then, in the process, he clarifying and fine-tuning the product itself. And I think this is one of the most important differences between American guys and Europe guys. The American guys wants to have it in development as quick as possible, instead of having a detailed specifications and then clarifying later on in the process, which works for us as well, as far as I know. Okay, the process. So you might be something like, well, this is it. You can start a project with such a vague description. Well, yeah, sometimes. But the key of the successful development in STRV and key for a happy customer is iterations. As I mentioned earlier, we do talk to clients a lot. I mean, we do talk to them every single day. We're having daily status or daily calls where the whole team gets together. The Android guys, the iOS guys, the web application guys, the backend guys, just all of the guys who works on the project, no matter of the technologies or the target device. And this is just a step-by-step process. And since we do talk a lot and every single day, we don't struggle that much with working on something which then we decide or the customer decide that is not wanted. And so, because since we talk every single day, we can clarify what's going on, what's being worked on, what's good, what's bad, what can be postponed for later, and what is the key to focus on with the development. So it's just a step-by-step process, and it eliminates stuff like working on something for a week, and then finding out that it doesn't gonna work out, or that there are some other important things, and it was just a waste of time. Of course, it happens sometimes that some features will be thrown away, but not that much, since we do talk a lot. And I think this is a very important thing to keep customer updated, because he pays for our job, so he has to know what's going on. And it's better for the customer, and it's better for us to just know what to expect in the next days or months or weeks. Once our project is, I don't want to say done, but let's say developed, just some kind of development version, we use tools Trello and TrackDuck. Trello is essentially just a Kanban board, but I do have to say that we don't use Scrum because since we want to be flexible, we cannot do 1 week sprints and telling the customer, you have to wait for a week and then you can expect some other features you just made up. So even though we use Trello for tracking the tasks, we don't do Scrum methodology. But I don't think that's a big problem because our client is happy to have their changes updated very quickly. And since we do keep a track of those features in these tools, it's not big of an issue for us too. Trello is more for features, for building applications step by step and adding other features. TrackDuck is mostly for bug fixing, for reporting bugs, and just for smaller updates and iterating of the developed product. Questions for clients, volume 2. As I said in volume 1, those were the questions which you should know before your project even starts. But in volume 2, there are going to be a couple of questions which are not crucial for start of the project, which you don't need to know right away, but you still do have to get those answers in the process to finish the project as wanted. One of those questions, or many of those questions, might be environment, where your application is going to run. If it's going to be on Heroku, Azure, or any other cloud service which your client might prefer. Of course, since it's a client's project, he has to buy his domain, he has to buy, if he wants that, SSL certificates, and of course, when using third-party services, as I mentioned, SMS gateways, payment gateways, and any other services, which are not that easy to write and make yourself, he has to take care of it, to make the account, pay for it, and so this has to be answered as well, but it's not crucial in the start. Then it's about the application itself, about how it's behave. When you click a button, what's gonna show up. Responsive as well. Talking about responsive later in this project in the volume 2 of questions, because as I mentioned, when the customers want to get the project up and running as fast as possible, the responsivity of the website is often postponed for later on, because it's not that important in the first place, but it's important eventually. So you gotta check it out, you gotta ask him, but it's not crucial in the beginning. Then it's a visual. It's just about the colors, about the margins, width, paddings, and just the visual stuff of the page of the application, and a copy, which is essentially just text and the content of the website or app itself. And lastly, details. Details can include a lot of everything you can think of, but my favorite detail is of the web pages, talking about web pages, is OG meta tags. And this actually shows how precise your web developer is, if he took care of it or not, because when your page is shared on social networks, you immediately see if the description is okay, if the picture looks good. When shared on Twitter, if the text fits through 160 characters. So this is just a very small detail, but you do want your web application or website to look good on social networks. So even though this is just a small detail which can be overlooked very, very easily, I think it's very important, and it says something about the quality of your developer or of your supplier of your solution. So that's about it. If you guys have any questions, just hit me at the bar or catch me around. I will be very happy to answer all of your questions. And I'm gonna lend my desk to my colleague Peter Absalon, and he's gonna talk about cascading style sheets and Webpack loaders and other stuff, I guess. Thank you very much.